If you want to learn how to hire a great ISA in 2024, check out this video. I'm going to go into detail how to generate a great offer, how to find qualified candidates, and how to select the best one for the role. Let's jump into it. If you want to get the best tips and strategies on how to do outbound prospecting and online marketing for real estate, please crush that subscribe button, turn on those notifications. We release a new video every single week. Over the past 8 years, Power ISA and myself have hired hundreds upon hundreds of ISA candidates for roles all across the US and Canada. So we know what we're talking about when it comes to hiring great ISAs for real estate. The first thing you need to get ready is a job offer and job description. If you're not clear on what you want to hire and why, it's going to be very difficult to find a great candidate for the role. Regardless of where you're going to look for candidates, a clear and concise job description is going to help you and is going to be key. You need to describe, what do you want your ISA to do? Do you want them to call inbound internet leads? Do you want them to do outbound prospecting? Do you want them to have cold calling experience? Do you want them to come from the telemarketing industry? And there's important details you need to include. For example, do you want to hire someone local and have them be licensed in your state? All of these different details need to be in a proper, well-formed job description. In addition to calling out the main activities, your job description should include an offer of compensation. If you're hiring someone locally in the US or Canada, that's typically going to be an hourly rate plus bonuses or commissions. Now, we recommend, if you're hiring locally, to structure your offer to be 50% hourly rate and 50% commission based. In the US, that's typically going to be $15 to $25 an hour for a qualified candidate to do this role. And how much it should be on the commission is going to be in the 5 to 10% range on closed transactions. In addition to this, a great job offer should include the expected earnings. If you want an in-house ISA to earn $70, $80, $90,000 a year, you should include that in the job offer. Expected earnings should be this much, but do break it down that it's going to be salary plus commissions. If you're hiring someone virtually, someone outside the US, then the compensation structure is going to be very, very different. You can get great talent from all over the world for about $5 to $7 an hour, depending on experience level. And the bonus structure can be very different for folks like that. It can be anywhere from $30 to $50 per week and maybe a few $100 per closed transaction. Now, I think it's important to make a big distinction. As you can see, compensation structure is dramatically different if you're hiring someone in-house locally in the US or Canada versus someone remotely outside of those countries. It's important to determine who you want to hire up front. If you hire locally, you have a big advantage of hiring from a local talent pool that know the area, obviously are native English speakers and understand the lingo. You can even find real estate agents, assistants that are already licensed that want to give the ISA role a try. Obviously, the cons of hiring someone locally is the cost. You're going to have to cycle through multiple candidates and multiple hires to get a great person for this role. That's just the nature of the role. Hiring someone locally has a disadvantage of costing way more to train a great person for this role. On the other hand, if you decide to hire virtually outside the US, your talent pool goes from people living locally around your office to the best talent all around the country, all around the world. And you can find this amazing talent for about $5 to $7 an hour. And I'm talking about native English speakers, folks that grew up in the US and Canada that want to work there, even if it's only remotely. Of course, like everything, there's pros and cons. The cons of hiring someone virtually is that you're going to be training them in a virtual environment. It takes more effort, it takes more work to manage, onboard, and supervise someone virtually. You need to rely on systems, on processes, and tools to really help you get that job done. Once you've determined the job description, the offer details, and whether you're going to hire someone locally or virtually, the next step is to find some great candidates for the position. If you're hiring locally, one of my favorite ways to grow my team was always calling my own database. Your database can be a great source of potential hires. You have the added benefit of calling everyone you know and asking them for help growing your business with a great hire. And if they don't have that available, they can refer you business of a potential buyer or a potential seller. You hit two birds with one stone when you call your database asking them for help finding talent. They realize you're successful, you're growing, and you're someone they want to be associated with. Never let go of a great opportunity to touch your database, especially if you want someone local to hire onto your team. If you want to hire outside of that talent pool, one of the best ways we found great hires locally and internationally is through Facebook groups. Folks, there are tons of groups on Facebook, job posting sites, job networking groups. Everything you can imagine is within a Facebook group. People share information there all the time. You can find call center group, telemarketing groups, sales groups in almost every country in the world. Seeking out these Facebook groups and posting your job offer, your offer of compensation in there can be a great way to find lots of very qualified candidates very quickly. Another great option if you want to find talent locally or all over the world are job posting sites. Some of the most popular ones are Indeed.com and ZipRecruiter.com. They have a fee to post your jobs on the site, but it can be a very quick way to find candidates with a very specific skill set talking to you right away. Last but not least, something we utilize all the time is running Facebook ads. That is a great way to scale up your hiring if you want to generate many candidates at once. It might be a little bit of overkill for what you want to do if you only want to hire one person, but it is a very efficient way to generate many candidates in the US, locally, or from all over the world. One pro tip is when you run these ads on Facebook, you need to use the special ads category for employment. Otherwise, your ads will never run and you risk your ad account getting banned permanently on Facebook. Once you're through the process and you're generating potential candidates from any of these sources, the first thing you need to do is you need to listen to them. Whether it's someone local or someone international, one of the key ways you're going to determine if someone is any good at this job is how they sound. Are they any good on the phone? Give them a quick phone call. Or if there's many of them, ask them to send you a recording of what they sound like. This is especially important for folks that are living outside the US, where a language barrier, a very thick accent can be an issue. There is no point in carrying on the interview process if someone does not have a native English accent that can do this job at the highest level. If you're hiring remotely, another thing you need to verify is that they have the technical requirements for the job. They have to have access to their own desktop computer or a laptop with at least 8 gigabytes of RAM. In addition to that, they have to have at least 20 megabits of a high-speed internet connection. And of course, they need to have access to their own headset so they can make calls throughout the day comfortably and reliably. Make sure that it is a USB headset because those work the best with the digital dialing systems out there today. Another thing to consider is you want to verify that you're getting candidates with at least some sales experience, either in a retail setting or in a customer service role where they spoke to people they didn't know and tried to get them to buy something. It's very important that this is not their first sales job. That can be a very big factor in your success. Preferably, you want someone that has sold things over the phone, that has extensive call center experience. It can be a big factor in your success. Having someone that has been on the phone before can help avoid issues with call reluctance or fear of the phone. You don't want someone discovering they have call reluctance when you hire them to call for your team. Once you verify this criteria, you have what I like to call qualified candidates, not just random people answering your job advertisement, but actual quality candidates that you want to move into the next step of the process, which is the interview. When you're interviewing qualified candidates, you want it to be a face-to-face experience, or at the very least, if you're hiring virtually, to be in a Zoom call where you can see the other person, have them turn on their camera, and be ready for that interview when it starts. The purpose of the interview for an ISA role is to get them talking about themselves. They're going to be talking to people they don't know all day, every day. Get them talking about themselves, about their experiences, what did they like about their previous role, what did they not like about their previous role, what have they accomplished in their career. You want to get them comfortable and talking about themselves and things they are knowledgeable in so you can see and evaluate their language skills, their ability to think on their feet, and how they react to a high pressure situation. The interview is a very high pressure situation for them. You want to see how they react to a situation like that because that will tell you a lot about how they're going to react when they're on the phone with someone they've never met before. I think now is an important moment to say a very big point when it comes to the interview process. When you're talking to someone for the first time in an interview, the interview is excellent at determining someone's language skills or verbal ability. It's great at determining if someone can be a good cultural fit for your team. Is this even sound like someone you would like to work with on a daily basis? Unfortunately, the interview is not great at determining someone's values, their work ethic, and their grit, their tenacity to be on the phone. This is why it's important. Once you interview candidates and you select one that you feel is the best, you've got to set the right expectation. You've got to tell them that they are a conditional hire, someone that is about to start a 30-day onboarding process that I like to call the final part of the interview. Once they pass that part, then you'll know whether you have a great hire for your team. You won't know it before that. The best way that we have found to determine whether a candidate that we really like is actually a great hire for an ISA role is to get them on the phone. Now, folks, in future videos, I'll go more into detail on the ISA onboarding process. But for now, I'll tell you this. As soon as you can get someone on the phone, the faster you're going to realize, are they a good fit for that role? Do they have the grit and tenacity required? And can they be successful on your team? Once a candidate completes the onboarding process, the hiring process comes to a close. However, I think it's important to mention a few potential pitfalls that a lot of agents fall into when hiring for this role. Number one of the biggest mistakes agents make is they put too much weight on the interview process. They think that holding multiple interviews with a single candidate, asking multiple questions, doing multiple role plays is going to ensure they make a great hire. Folks, it's not as simple as that. Like I mentioned before, you don't know what someone can do in this ISA role until you get them on the phone on your team. That's why we recommend a relatively fast interview process. And if you like someone, they have great verbal skills, they can think on their feet, and they're a good cultural fit for your team, get them on the phone and determine, do they have what it takes to be an ISA for real estate as fast as possible. The interview is only one step in this process. The final part of the interview are the first 30 days on the roll. Another potential mistake is when people are not clear on the importance of this onboarding process. When someone passes the interview, you need to tell them that they are a conditional hire. After these next 30 days is when they're going to determine have they proven themselves and have they earned the right to be a permanent member of the team. You need to set the gauntlet before a potential hire. You need to tell them this is the process you follow, and this is how you're going to ensure that they can become a more permanent member of your team. I really like the saying that goes like this: do not judge me by who I hire, judge me by who I keep. I think that saying is important because it says the important thing is evaluating people on their performance on the job. They can have an amazing interview and actually be a poor performer once they're actually doing their activities. But if a real estate agent is too invested in that hire because they had a very lengthy interview process, they might ignore for several weeks, for several months, poor performance from a candidate because they are nervous about having made a mistake in their hiring process. My recommendation is don't fall into that trap. Evaluate people on their performance day to day. Another big mistake I see real estate agents make is that they interview too few candidates. Folks, when someone interviews two people and picks the best one, you didn't interview enough people. My recommendation is to interview at least 10 qualified candidates to make one successful hire. And even then, you have to make peace with the fact that it can take 2 to 3 hires to get one really good ISA that can pass a 30-day onboarding process. This is not a failure. This is not a problem. This is the process to hire for a role like ISA for real estate. It is not an easy job to do, but once you get the right person in the role, it can be a game changer for your business. That's it, folks. That is a process that I recommend to hire for the ISA role at the highest level. Let me know in the comments below if you have anything to add, and I'd love to hear about your experiences hiring for the ISA role. As always, if you want help hiring a great virtual ISA for your team, reach out to us at Power ISA. We do this every single day. We receive 200 applications on a daily basis so we can generate qualified candidates for real estate teams all over the US and Canada. Let us know. We'd love to help.